Yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Just going to start off with a short recitation. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري وأشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا قال قد أوتيت سؤلك يا موسى بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على تمان لأكملان خير خلق الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين اللهم علمنا بما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا كريم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ثم أما بعد. Once again, my brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I know that the brothers and the sisters are also working, preparing for the iftar. Saturday is always the largest crowd of the week here, so if it's okay, I will actually keep the mic as close as I can when I'm speaking. And secondly, if I sound a bit weary to you, it's because I am. This is my third lecture for the day, and I still have 3 more to go. So please bear with me if I sort of drift off to my topic and I start talking about the NBA finals or something, right? Allah give me strength. Today, insha'Allah ta'ala, what I want to share with you is a discussion on the du'as of the Quran. This is a very large topic, by the way. I don't know how to begin this topic. As a matter of fact, for those of you who were with me last year and you were sitting here on one of the Saturdays in Ramadan, I also spoke on the same topic, and last year I chose one verse from Surah Al-Baqarah that you all know, where Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. That verse I spent the entire hour on, but I won't be doing that this time. This time what I'd like to do is I'd like to share with you the stories of 3 individuals, not their life, but more so how these 3 individuals spoke to Allah when they were confronted with hardship. The first that I want to bring to your attention is Musa alayhi salam. You all know the story of Musa alayhi salam. He is the one prophet that is mentioned the most in Quran. 12 times at least. Some ulama, depending on how you interpret some verses, it's even more than that. That Musa alayhi salam is talked about in the Quran. His story is phenomenal. Whether you are young or old, whether you are practicing the religion or not, this story is relevant to you. So you really want to pay attention. I don't care what your background of Islam is. I don't care what level of knowledge you have. The story of Musa alayhi salam is just as relevant to you and whatever you're going through in your life as the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam is. What I want to do is I want to just quickly recap something very important. Remember when Musa alayhi salam, he's given the command by Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah tells him, I want you to go to that guy, that tyrant in Egypt. What's his name? Fir'aun. Now remember, here's something that you probably don't know about Fir'aun. Fir'aun, he was such a tyrant, such an evil human being. He was such a powerful man that the surrounding countries of Egypt used to send their students, their prince and princesses to Egypt to be educated by those who were under control of Fir'aun. So he wasn't just a powerful man within Egypt, he also had an influence in the surrounding countries and cities around Egypt. People used to travel just to take something from him. Secondly, he was the richest man that was known at that time. He didn't have just mansions, he had castles and palaces at his disposal. Third, he had workers and slaves, which you all know the story, that he treated very badly and tortured very badly. So guess what happens now? Musa alayhi salam is told by Allah, "Idhab ila Fir'aun innahu tagha." Go to Fir'aun, he's a tyrant. If I told you that outside these walls, actually in another city, if I told you that they were persecuting and executing Muslims, and all of this was happening under one ruler or one leader, he or she is responsible. If you can stop that one person, you can stop all of this, treacherous activity, crime, murder, you name it. All of it will come to an end. But you got to get through this one person. He's or she is the one in charge. But all I said to you was, I picked some random person from this audience and I said, you, go to that city and confront that person. Now remember what you're going to be faced with. And remember what Musa alayhi salam is being faced with. He's going to go now to Egypt. And remember, he left Egypt because what did he do? He's already been convicted of what? Of murder. So all of the security alliances of Fir'aun, all of his people are waiting not to imprison Musa alayhi salam. They want to kill him. If they only see him come back into Egypt, they're going to take his life. This is mentioned in Surah Al-Qasas, that they didn't want to imprison, but they wanted to take his life. Now he gets the command from Allah Azza wa Jal, I want you to go to Fir'aun. Go and confront him. And it doesn't stop there. Later on in Surah Taha, you know what happens? Allah Azza wa Jal tells him how to speak to Fir'aun. اذهبا إلى فرعون إنه طغى فقولا له قولا لينا لعله يتذكر أو يخشى. He tells now him and his brother Harun, when you go to Fir'aun, I want you to be nice to him and say kind words to him. Can you imagine how difficult it would be to hold yourself together knowing that this is the person that is killing women and children, that is killing babies, and he's keeping everybody else as slaves and torturing them in the process? And on top of that, if he didn't commit such a bad crime, the worst of the worst, Fir'aun didn't say that he was Allah. You know what he said? قَالَ أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. He said, I'm actually the greatest master, the greatest Rabb. Fir'aun elevated himself above Allah. He didn't say, أَنَا رَبُّكُمْ الْأَعْلَى. I'm the greatest Rabb you will find. In addition to that, now you know that if somebody claims divinity to that extent, then you know everything else in their life is messed up. How he treated his wife Asiya radiallahu anha, which we will speak about at the end, is a whole nother story. So now Musa alayhi salam, he's told by Allah, go to Fir'aun, he's a tyrant. Look at the instruction Allah gives him. He tells Musa to go, and Musa now responds and says, Rabbi shrah li sadri. Oh Allah, open my chest. Inshirahu sadr is the term in Quran that describes somebody that's calm from within, relaxed, clear-minded, focused. They're not nervous, they're not frightened, they're not scared. They're just relaxed. You know, if I told you again, go to that other city and confront that tyrant that's taking the lives of all Muslims, and even your own children are subjugated to that, how would you feel? You know what you and I would do? We would try to rally all the resources we can. We'd call the police, the army, the military. We'd make sure that our path to that city is also safe and secure. And remember, Fir'aun, his palace, according to some history books, this is not authentic, but it kind of gives you some imagery to appreciate. They described that the palace of Fir'aun was built with large, massive pillars. So when you walked in, Fir'aun was at the dead center on a throne by himself with his guards on both sides. But each end of the wall was literally like meters and meters away. It would literally feel like the biggest room on this planet. And Fir'aun is just this tiny little guy on a throne in the center. All against the walls, you have the security guards, the forces of Fir'aun, waiting. If anybody, especially Musa alayhi salam, walked in, they would take him out. So can you imagine the circumstance? Now Musa alayhi salam doesn't say, Ya Rabbi, give me the police. Ya Rabbi, open this avenue for me. Ya Rabbi, give me some weapons. Ya Rabbi, give me an army. Ya Rabbi, give me money, give me power, give me strength. All he asked Allah was to do what? Open up my chest. Make me calm. How do you feel when you get really terrible news for the first time? Parents, what would you do one day if, especially mothers, what would you do if one day you looked on the news, and may Allah protect you from this, you looked on the news and you saw a missing child and you saw the face of your daughter or your son there? Fathers, what would you do if you knew that your own children were being physically abused by somebody dear to you or close to you? This is how Musa alayhi salam is feeling. I'm going to go now and I'm going to walk in front of Fir'aun, the most powerful human being that's alive. I'm one of the weakest, plus I'm being targeted for murder, plus I myself was also convicted of a crime. Now I have to go and confront him, and I have to go up to his face. Allah Azza wa Jal told Fir'aun, go right up to him and start speaking to him. You don't have to go through security checks. Just walk right up to his face and start talking to him. All he said from Allah is, make me calm. So when we're talking about du'as, here's your first clue. How the Quran teaches you to speak to Allah. Let me tell you, brothers and sisters, prophets and messengers, they really know how to talk to Allah. If you ever want to master and perfect speech with Allah, look at how prophets and messengers spoke in Quran. So Musa alayhi salam, his first dua to Allah is, make me calm. Because when you're not calm, you can't think. You start blurting out whatever you feel, whatever you say. Oh my God, I hate this. Oh my God. You know what some people they do? They start cursing at Allah. Allah, what are you doing? That's my son, that's my only child. Why? Why'd you take him away from me? So when you're not clear-minded, you're not calm, this is what ends up happening. So that's the first thing Musa alayhi salam does. And that's why you hear a lot of speakers, including myself, we start off our talks with Rabbi shrah li sadri. Remove any sort of butterflies we have in our stomach, because I still get them till this day. Whether I'm talking to my own community or I'm talking to anybody else, I still have to ask Allah Azza wa Jal to get rid of those butterflies, because I still feel nervous. So that's the first thing. Here's number two. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri. Here's your second approach when you talk to Allah, especially when you're confronted with difficulty. You ask Allah for ease. He asked Allah Azza wa Jal, وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي, and make easy for me what I'm about to go through, the task at hand. I'm supposed to go to this tyrant. Oh Allah, make it easy for me. What do you learn from this? Raise your hands if you read the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. Yusuf alayhi salam. It's one of the most famous, if not the most famous story in the Quran. Do you remember the part of the story where Yusuf alayhi salam is confronted by the wife of the Aziz? And the wife said to him, well, what she did first is, وَغَلَّقَتِ الْأَبْوَابِ. She slammed the doors shut in the castle. And she didn't just slam them. The ayah says, غَلَّقَ. غَلَّقَ literally means that they closed the doors and she locked them. She put padlocks on every door in the entire castle. And then she went to Yusuf alayhi salam and she said, Haytalak. Haytalak, the Arabs know what this is. Haytalak is literally when you tell somebody, do whatever you want to me. So she completely submitted herself to Yusuf alayhi salam. What did Yusuf say? The first thing Yusuf alayhi salam said was, قَالَ مَعَاذَ اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ رَبِّي أَحْسَنَ مَثْوَايَ. The first thing Yusuf alayhi salam said, أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ, I seek my protection with Allah from you. What do we learn from that? No Muslim, no human can overcome a sin without the help of Allah. Don't kid yourself, man. No matter how trivial it is, Shaitan, all he has to do is open a crack in the wall. You, if you're not careful, will make that crack turn into a massive crack and break down the entire wall and get to the other side. All Shaitan does is just give you an avenue. فَلَا تَلُومُونِي وَلُومُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. He told us in the Quran, so don't blame me, blame yourself when you fall into this kind of mess. So Musa alayhi salam is asking Allah, oh Allah, I can't do this without you, please make it easy for me. وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي. Here's the third thing. Here's the third ingredient. Musa had a stutter problem. You all know this, right? He had a stutter problem. So when you're nervous, you start to stutter even more. Even if you don't have a stutter problem, you'll find yourself that sometimes you stutter when you're nervous. You'll be searching for words. So Musa alayhi salam, what does he ask Allah? Untie the knots on my tongue. وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي. Why? يَفْقَهُ قَوْلِي. So that I will be able to speak clearly, so that the person I'm talking to can actually understand me. Here's the third thing. When the Quran is teaching you and I to deal with problems in your life, it's telling you this is your guide. Number one, ask Allah to help you. Number two, only the ease will come from Him. Allah says in the Quran, إِن يَنصُرْكُمُ اللَّهُ فَلَا غَالِبَ لَكُمْ. Once you have the help and the aid of Allah, nobody, nothing on earth is going to get in front of you. Nothing on earth is going to stop you. So he asked Allah, untie the knots from my tongue so that the person can understand me. That's what you want to do when you're upset. You want to make sure that when you're speaking, that person can actually understand what you're saying to them. So, I'm going to conclude now. I'm going to conclude Musa alayhi salam. All I wanted to share with you with Musa is how he responded when he was put in a devastating situation. When he was put in a circumstance he could not control. Let me make this somewhat relevant to all of you in 2017. Some of you probably have kids that started high school this year. And I know for some of you, when your kids go to high school, the only ayah you remember is Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, right? Because, I mean, everything is at risk now. Their identity, their Islam, everything is being questioned now. Every ounce of fitna you can think of now is right in front of them, and they're confronted with this every single day. It's a parent's worst nightmare. To know that all the investment that you've gone through with your kids, you put them in Islamic schools until grade 8, but once grade 9 hits, if they're not careful, they lose all of those 8 years in the first year of high school. It's all gone. So when you step into that circumstance, don't forget to ask Allah, Ishrah li sadri. Oh Allah, keep me calm. Let me deal with my daughter. Let me deal with my son. Whatever drama they come home with every single day, whatever problems and questions they have, believe me, high school students, one of the most common questions they ask is, who said God actually exists? My parents always taught me that Allah is real. How do I know that? I want to see Him. I want to talk to Him. Prove to me that Allah is real. This is a question most parents simply can't answer. But when that happens to you and you're confronted with something like this, ask Allah Azza wa Jal to keep you calm. Most parents, and I really apologize if this sounds too forward to you, but I really have to make my point very clear. Always remember, parents, you don't have a ticket to psychologically torture your child or say to them whatever it is that you want. You don't have a ticket to do that. It's not this exclusive ticket where you can just talk to your kids and show them absolutely no appreciation or gratitude for the things they do. Even from the most simple and minuscule things. Your child, I don't know, made up their bed for the first time in 2017. You know what you should do? You should say thank you. You should appreciate that. You shouldn't say, Alhamdulillah, alladhi ahyana ba'da ma amatana wa ilayhi nushur. Praise be to Allah, the one who put life in you after death. You finally did this. Congratulations. Don't use sarcasm. Always remember, your first ticket towards getting respect from children is you got to appreciate them. You got to show them appreciation when they do good things to you. All of this we're learning from Musa alayhi salam. Tayyib, let's move on. The next story, the next prophet, Ayyub alayhi salam. Now this is going to take this conversation about dua one step further. Ayyub alayhi salam lost 4 things in his life. He lost all of his wealth. Number 2, he lost all of his health. It was said that Ayyub developed this skin disease where he had these dots, these specks that appeared all over his skin, and people were afraid to touch him. So the 3rd thing he ends up losing consequently was what? He lost his entire community. They all abandoned him. And then the 4th thing that he loses was, he had about 12 to 14 children. And all of them, they were living in this mud building that Ayyub alayhi salam built. And one day, the building collapsed. All of his children died. Can you imagine what that feels like? Man lost his power, his dignity. He lost his community, his family. He lost his wealth. And now he lost all of his children. Ayyub alayhi salam is now paralyzed in bed. Then a revelation came to him. Allah Azza wa Jal said to take your foot, urkud birijlik. Take your foot and tap the ground. You know, ironically, some Muslims like to use this verse to say that it's permissible to dance because Ayyub alayhi salam tapped the ground, right? But that's inaccurate, and none of the scholars took this opinion. So when Ayyub alayhi salam, Allah gave him strength. Allah said to him, hit the ground. Some water started to gush. Put some of that cold, cool, refreshing water, put it on yourself. Allah gave him the strength to move his hand, put some on his body. Then Ayyub did something that changed the way we speak to Allah. Ayyub alayhi salam said, وَأَيُّوبَ إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. Ayyub alayhi salam spoke to Allah. And he said to Allah, now follow me. Look at what he says to Allah. Number 1, أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ. A pain touched me. What did we say he lost? Everything in his body except 2 things. His tongue and his heart were the only 2 things that were functioning properly. Everything in his body was paralyzed. His community, his money, everything gone. What does he tell Allah? Only one thing. He doesn't say, أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضِّرَارِ. Dirar is the plural for dur. Ayyub says to Allah in singular form, only one thing touched me, oh Allah. My whole life is pretty much done, but it's just one thing happened. Does Ayyub ask Allah for anything? Does he say, oh Allah, cure me? Oh Allah, give me my wealth? Oh Allah, give me back this? Does Ayyub blame Allah and say, oh Allah, you made me sick? Ibrahim alayhi salam in Surah Shu'ara, when he became sick, do you know what he said to get the cure? وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ. When I get sick, Allah is the one that cures me. He doesn't say, no prophet or messenger does this, by the way. They don't say, oh Allah, you made me sick, because they don't want to attribute that kind of ailment and hardship and suffering. They don't want to attribute that to Allah, even though Allah is in control of everything. They don't want to verbalize it. They just want to keep that to themselves. Oh Allah, I became sick but you're the one that cures me. So Ayyub alayhi salam didn't ask for anything. Here's what he did ask for. وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. And you are the most merciful one. Now just stop for a minute. Just stop. You just lost everything in your life. Okay? And I think that every one of you sitting in here, you have a story to tell about some kind of hardship in your life. Every one of you have a story here of being traumatized. You've said things, or people said things to you. It could have been your parents. You might have said something to them, but you never got their forgiveness because they passed away. They moved out of your life. You might have relatives and brothers and sisters that you don't have any connection with them anymore. Why? Transactions didn't go well. You don't have a good relationship anymore. The families them split up. If it's not them, it's with your community. Every time you walk into a masjid, everybody starts pointing fingers at you and starts talking about you. Trust me, I know. I'm an imam. So I know what that feels like. Everybody starts pointing fingers. Everybody has an opinion about you. Everybody's backbiting, and there's nothing that you can do. This ayah is for you, man. This ayah is for us. When you feel that all the gates of mercy and hope have been shut in your life, they've been closed. Allah Azza wa Jal told this one man who went through the most hardship of anybody, and he said to him, he said to Allah, you are the most merciful one. How does somebody grasp that concept? How do you say to Allah after losing everything in your life, oh Allah, you're still merciful to me? Our Messenger alayhi salatu wassalam once told us, إِنَّمَا الصَّبْرُ عِنْدَ الصَّدْمَةِ الْأُولَى. Patience is the first thing you should react with when hardship afflicts you. By the way, a side note. Do you notice that I'm only talking to you about hardship? I'm not talking to you about when we make dua for the good things in our lives, when we thank and show gratitude to Allah, because that's something every single one of us should be doing. But the one thing that we do the most is we use dua when hardship afflicts us. That's why I'm spending the majority of the time on that. It's not to say that one is more important than the other, but one is certainly used more than the other. وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. Guess what happened? فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ. Allah Azza wa Jal responded and He gave him the answer he was looking for. Guess what happened to Ayyub alayhi salam? Allah Azza wa Jal returned his community. He started to move his body all over again. He started to regain strength. The skin disease started to cure. His community started returning. His land came alive once again. All the plants started to grow. His wife returned to him. And Allah blessed him with 12 children. Subhanallah. Allah gave him back all of his children again. That's what happens when you speak to Allah and you have full trust in Him. Ayyub alayhi salam had full trust in Allah. He didn't complain to Allah and said, oh Allah, why you did this to me? Why this happened? He accepted what Allah gave him. And there was a story of a time when his wife said to him, you've been sick for 8 years of your life. Don't you think that's enough? Don't you think you should ask Allah to just cure you? Ayyub asked his wife at that moment, how many years have I been alive? She said much more than 8 years, by the way. I don't recall the number, but she said much more than 8 years. So Ayyub looked at his wife and said, I'll feel ashamed of myself if I'm going to now complain to Allah about making me sick for just 8 when I've been healthy and good for the majority of my life. I'll feel ashamed of myself. So he doesn't ask Allah for nothing. He has full trust in Allah. What does Allah still do for him? Allah still gives him. Some of you might be thinking, so what does Allah get out of this? What does Allah get out of making us go through all of this hardship and go through these sicknesses? What does Allah get in return? Well, the answer is Allah doesn't get anything. Allah, one of His names is what? He is Al-Ghani. Al-Ghani is the one that is independent. The one who doesn't depend on survival from anyone. So Allah is independent of Himself. But you and I, we're the ones that are poor. Allah says, Antumul fuqara. You guys are the ones that need me. And what's amazing is that in Quran, Allah tells us that when you do just a little bit of good deeds for Allah, Allah makes you ghani. Allah makes you rich, subhanAllah. So Ayyub alayhi salam, so the second etiquette of dua that I'm sharing with you in the Quran is that the peak, the pinnacle, the climax of dua is you just have your full trust in Allah Azza wa Jal. That in and of itself is a request. When you have full trust in Allah, you're indirectly saying to Allah, oh Allah, you take care of it. You deal with it. You're in charge anyways, you let it happen. When you have tawakkul in Allah, you stop complaining. Those of us who come from broken homes, broken marriages, do you know that the only place in the Quran that Allah says, وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ, whoever has trust in Allah, that's enough? Just listen to the language. You have trust in Allah, your life is set, you're done. There's only one surah Allah spoke about tawakkul like that. It's in Surah Al-Talaq. It's in the surah of divorce. Because what happens to people when they divorce? Most of them lose hope. Who's going to want to marry me? I'm 40, I'm 50. I got 4 children, I got 5 kids. Who's going to want me now? That mentality, Allah cures it and says, look, you just need to have tawakkul in me. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. What surah is that in? It's in the same surah, in Surah Talaq. Whoever has taqwa of Allah, Allah will always give them a way out. That's my secret. That should be your secret as well. Whenever I hear gossip, and if I'm included in that gossip, the first ayah that comes knocking at my door, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. As long as you keep your taqwa, Allah will show you a way out of these people. That's a big problem. That's a big problem that even in the month of Ramadan, people still backbite and still talk about one another and still spread lies and still do all of this craziness. There's no shaitan. All of that is a reflection of who that individual is. So may Allah Azza wa Jal give us strength, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cure these problems from our community. Say Ameen. Allahumma Ameen. The last and final portion of my presentation, and I'm done inshallah. My energy level is literally gone. So I want to bring your attention finally to a very, very strong human being. And she is a woman. And she is none other than Asiya radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Asiya bint Muzahim radiyallahu anha. Remember, she was married to the tyrant, right? One day, her husband, Fir'aun, he brought Asiya outside in front of all of his people. And he started scolding her and making fun of her. And saying to all of his people, she doesn't believe that I am Allah. That's what he does. He points at her, brings her in front of, this is his wife. Brings her in front of everybody and humiliates her. Asiya radiyallahu anha, you know what she does? She starts laughing. She just starts smiling to herself. Fir'aun now looks at her and says, look, 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 she's crazy on top of that. I'm telling you that she thinks that I'm not Allah, but look, she's laughing. I'm humiliating her, and she's taking it as one big joke. So what did Fir'aun do? He started beating her. He took an iron rod and started lashing out at her. When she's being hit by this iron rod, what do you think Asiya is doing? She's laughing. It was said, Ibn Kathir rahimahullah mentions in his tafsir, it was said that Allah showed Asiya radiyallahu anha, He showed her the doors of Jannah, and there was a cool, refreshing breeze that was coming to her while she was being tortured. So she didn't feel any pain. As a matter of fact, she felt joy and happiness. That's what happens when Allah is with you. Now listen to her dua, and this is what I conclude with. She says to Allah, رَبِّ ابْنِ لِي عِنْدَكَ بَيْتًا فِي الْجَنَّةِ وَنَجِّنِي مِنْ فِرْعَوْنَ وَعَمَلِي وَنَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. Listen to this dua, subhanAllah. It is one of the most incredible duas you will read in the Quran. From Asiya radiallahu anha. She first and foremost called upon Allah by Rabb. She said, Rabb, oh my master. Always remember this. In Quran, whenever you see the word Rabb that's used by prophets and messengers or pious people, it represents the peak of desperation. In other words, these individuals have reached to a point where they've got no answers. They've got no avenue out of their problem. So what happens? That's where they start using, Ya Rabb, Ya Rabb, Ya Rabb. So she says to Allah, Rabb ibni li indak. Oh Allah, build for me near you. What does she want? Baytan, a house. Arabic students, she didn't say al-bayt, ma'rifah. She didn't say in the definitive form, I want the house. In other words, I want a special home, a nice palace or something beautiful. She just said, just give me anything. Just give me a place to live. I don't care if it's just 4 walls and a roof. Just give me something. You know what was important to her? It wasn't being near to her husband because of what her husband was putting her through. The thing that was important to her was, I want that place where I can live. I want it to be right next to you. She was near to Allah in this world and she wants the same thing for her akhirah. This is the biggest point that I want to leave you with. Whatever you ask Allah in this world for, make sure that it synchronizes with what you want in the akhirah. You ask Allah for peace in this world, you want the same thing in the akhirah. You want to be free from hardship or at least have answers to your problems in this world, you want the same thing for your akhirah. You want to be able to respond when you're being questioned by Allah Azza wa Jal. So she says, give me a baytan. And then she says, fil Jannah. In the Jannah. Here's your next thing. When you want something from Allah, ask for it. When you want something from Allah, at least have it in your heart. Don't play guessing games. Just be confident. You know, sometimes when I mention this, you know how the Prophet ﷺ told us, don't just ask for Jannah, but ask for Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la? Some of my students used to tell me, yeah, but Shaykh, as long as I get in Jannah, it doesn't matter if I live on the street. I don't need a house. If Allah just throws me in a window, I'm good. I don't have to walk through no gates, as long as I get in. You're missing the point. Aim high. Ask for Allah. Ask from Allah not just His paradise. Ask for the best in paradise. In Surah Al-Furqan, Allah Azza wa Jal described the people of Jannah that were at different levels. And He said, أولئك يجزون الغرفة بما صبروا ويلقون فيها تحية وسلاما. Allah Azza wa Jal says that there are going to be some of you that walk into Jannah and you're going to walk into this big room. Ghurfa in Quran refers to a room that is so large you can't see the end, you can't see the roof, the distance is too far. Allah says that you're going to get to go inside that bi'idhnillah, but maybe your brother or your sister or your son or your daughter, they're at the 6th level of Jannah. You're in Jannatul Firdaus. Allah Azza wa Jalla at the end of Surah Al-Furqan will allow you to ask Him to reunite with your loved ones. So you will ask, Ya Rabbi, my mom, my dad, or my brother, my wife, my husband, they're in the 3rd level. Ya Rabbi, reunite me with them in this Jannatul Firdaus. Oh Allah, bring them to me. And as a result of you aiming high and reaching high and setting goals high to be the best believer that you can be, as a result of that attitude, you just have been the reason that your family got upgraded from a lower level of Jannah and they're now with you in Jannatul Firdaus, subhanAllah. May Allah give us His Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la. Say, Allahumma ameen. May Allah give us His Jannah. Allahumma ameen. May Allah give us His Jannah. Allahumma ameen. I want to conclude, my brothers and sisters, that Asiya radiallahu anha, if you notice something about her dua, she says, وَنَجِّنِي مِن فِرْعَوْنَ. She didn't say, مَا قَالَ وَنَجِّنِي مِن زَوْجِي. She didn't say, protect me from my husband. Save me from my husband. She did not want to recognize that this man was her husband. That's how ashamed she was of him. She said, Fir'aun, this guy, get him away from me. Najjini. Najjini means get him far away. Move him. I don't even want to see him. I don't even want to utter his name. But it didn't stop there. This is what makes Asiya's dua so remarkable. And this is what I conclude with. وَنَجِّنِي مِن فِرْعَوْنَ وَعَمَلِي وَنَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. She didn't just ask to be saved from Fir'aun and his actions, but she also asked to be saved from everybody that was like him. She was thinking ahead for the next generation and the next generation. And all of us here at IIT, Asiya radiallahu anha, make dua for us, to save us from ever having to confront people like Fir'aun. Now you might be thinking, so what, there's no Fir'auns in this earth? There's probably little Fir'auns, dictators. There's probably little Fir'auns in our homes, really terrible spouses, people that are out there just to abuse their rights, abuse their positions. Maybe there's little Fir'auns. But to that magnitude, Allah knows best, I don't know. But all I do know is that Asiya radiallahu anha, I hope and I pray that insha'Allah ta'ala, Allah reunites us, that we are in the company of Asiya radiallahu anha in Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la. We are in the company of the prophets and the messengers of Allah, and we are in the company and we will enter Jannah with Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So these are the words that I leave you with, my brothers and sisters. I want to conclude, if you allow me to make a short dua. This is the month of dua. This is a topic of dua. So allow me to conclude with a dua, that we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to accept from us our fast. Ya Rabbi, we ask you to accept from us our ruku', our sujood, our salah, our ibadah, our dua, our tawbah, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, we ask you to strengthen our hearts and our lives with the Quran. Make the Quran permanent in our lives, permanent in our hearts. Ya Rabbi, we ask you to protect and preserve our children, our sons and our daughters from the fitna and the hardship of everyday life. Ya Rabbi, protect them. Ya Rabbi, protect them. Ya Rabbi, protect them. Oh Allah, we ask you to protect our mothers and our fathers. Ya Rabbi, protect our moms and our dads. Al-ahya'i minhum wal-amwat. Those that are alive with us, those that have passed on. Ya Rabbi, my mother who is in her grave, Ya Rabbi, make her grave a garden from the gardens of Jannah. Ya Rabbi, my father who is in his grave, make his grave a garden from the gardens of Jannah. Ya Rabbi, reunite me with them in Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la. Allahumma ameen. Oh Allah, we ask you, oh Allah, we ask you to forgive us. Shower your mercy upon us. Ya Rabbi, this is the only Ramadan that perhaps you may have written for us. None of us can guarantee we will ever see a Ramadan again. Ya Rabbi, accept from us our Ramadan. Accept from us our sacrifice. Accept from us our efforts. Allahumma ameen. Jazakumullahu khairan wa akhiru da'wana.